joined by George, CEO of NVISION, and we're going to talk about something called lifecycle marketing.
Love it.
I feel like it's a new term. I feel like it's like sweeping the digital marketing world, but it's, in short, like I would say that my best understanding of lifecycle marketing is that we are now looking at not so much the side of marketing where you're like awareness, like get people down this like typical funnel where that end point of the funnel is like the sale or the lead. It's everything beyond that, like the loyalty, the advocacy you get from clients. So it's like marketing to the client after they're your client already. Agree?
Yeah, I think there's a, traditional marketing in the way that you just mentioned with ADA, right? Awareness, interest, desire, action. I think that was a very linear way of looking at how clients would go down a certain funnel or how they would typically buy. Well, with all of the information that's out there and the channels that are out there now, like we are in and out into a lot of things, distracted by a lot of things. So, our pre-sale is we behave a certain way, which is very erratic. And then post-sale often is dismissed because like, now I've made the sale, wash my hands of this deal, move on to the next thing. And I think this is why I love this direction. I think it's something we've been working on for a long time. And it's finally starting to like, people are starting to understand the importance of what you do pre-sale, whether it's awareness or conditioning a client to understand your services, build authority. But then what are you really doing after that sale happens, right?
Yeah.
Super cool.
We had this conversation recently where I was like, the way that we used to do marketing was very much like, okay, once we get you the lead, client, it's your problem. So then we had this like funny thing with new clients where if they've never worked with marketing, where it's like, here's your funnel, we're going to fill it and we're going to get you leads. We had clients who were like, I don't know what to do with the lead. I don't know how to sell it. Or coming back to us and being like, they're not good quality. Right. And it was very much like that spot that's at the end of the funnel was like, this is where marketing ends and where like everything else begins.
Oh, hello, guest.
Soybeans back for another episode. So this aspect of like marketing just like ending at the lead was, I don't know, it just didn't sit right with us, right? Because our clients were kind of like, now what?
Yeah, I think I think people often, especially marketers, we get fixated on driving lead volume, right? So it's like, we know that we need to grow an organization by a certain percentage or dollar amount or number of leads, whatever. And then it's kind of our hands are washed because we accomplished the objective. But then you start to tap into, well, at some point things will dry out. You hit a plateau as a business of net new opportunities because, there's only so much obtainable business out there in the geographic territory you're working in. So if the total obtainable market that you're working in is saturated or you're at capacity, I said this yesterday, you have a pot of gold sitting there of clients you've worked with. What are you doing to nurture those to increase like lifetime value of that client? And what are the sorts of channels that those clients live on or want to communicate with you on, right? So when you tap into that pot of gold, all of a sudden a whole new opportunity presents itself.
Yeah. And I think that pot of gold can look like there's two ways of looking at it. There's one that those particular clients, you're able to get like a better lifetime value out of them where they might purchase again. Like you might have something that's like really consumable, right? And it's like, it's easy with consumables. They just keep coming back and purchasing. But then on the flip side of that, the advocacy is that if those people don't buy something from you constantly, like we have companies that are like, we've got a lifetime guarantee. Our product lasts like 50 years or something. It's like, they're not going to keep coming back again and again. That referral is like the most important thing you can get out of people because the trust factor is just like built in.
Yeah. I mean, if you've been able to deliver what you've promised on, which is all the things the marketers have helped you put together, put it into the world, now you've delivered on it. The amount of effort it took you to obtain that client only to see them sit there and do nothing with. So this pot of gold sitting there that you worked really hard to, whatever. Well, I'm not a gold, whatever. The people who would sit there and filter their gold for hours and get little nuggets. I mean, you worked hard to get that piece of gold.
Yeah.
And now you're like, okay, like there it is. So what did we were talking about statistically, like it takes 9 to 25 times more, we've been reading, % or 9 to 25 times more effort to obtain a new client than an existing client.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So,
well, that and like AIDA funnel is so simplified. It looks like awareness, interest, desire, action. But realistically, we were.
Hello, guest.
You want some water? This is
this is a lot for George.
Hydrogenated water.
There you go. For the typical path where it's like awareness, interest, desire, action, what platforms are those things happening on, right? And we're saying like, it doesn't look like 4 solid touch points. It can look like you're browsing it on your phone, then you look on your laptop, then you see a commercial, then there's a billboard, you flip through a magazine, and the old stat was like 7 touch points before an action happens, but it's like 30 plus now or something.
And think about like, even, we sit and have these wicked conversations about behavior, like how, yes, there's everyone's like, oh, people just swipe up. And it's like, do you know how much stuff people actually do? If you sit back and think about your interaction with a digital a device, desktop, television, a screen that's out in the subways, your phone, like there are so many ways that we interact with digital content.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and we're easily distracted from it.
Oh my goodness.
Like, do you ever open your phone and you're like, oh, what was I about to actually do on it? But you're like looking at something else.
Oh my God.
You go in like the wrong direction.
It literally happened to me this morning. I was like, this is super important. I have to make sure I do it. Yeah. And I'm like, but first I'm going to grab a glass of water. And then I came back and I'm like, what was that thing?
Yeah.
Like what happened to my brain for that?
That's why retargeting is important.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's amazing. But all it is like, so this all manifested from, clients coming to us and asking for certain channels to be on. Like everyone's heard the buzzwords, SEO, PPC, social media, but they don't know what impact that's actually going to have for them.
Right now it's just social. Get me on social, do something for social. And it's like, but what and why?
Well, we just talked about it. Like, okay, everyone knows X and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. And now we were just talking about, well, there's these 5 new platforms that have come up out of nowhere. And there's probably going to be more. And they all, do a different thing for a different audience. TikTok, for example, versus LinkedIn. 2 very different ecosystems, very different conversations happening on them, right? So when somebody comes up with a blanket statement to a marketer and the marketer's first reaction is, here's a package, that is such a fucking terrible way to make sure that client's getting what they need. I think
that's giving them what they want versus what they need, right?
That's what I meant.
But exactly.
Yeah, it is like probably the most frustrating thing for, you and I have been in marketing a long time. And nothing gets me more irritated than when a client walks into our office and they're like, well, I did this thing for a year and it didn't work out. I'm like, okay, well, did they ask you about your goal? What were you trying to achieve? I was trying to achieve this. Why the fuck are you doing this thing then? Like you were led down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And that paints a really shitty picture for this whole industry.
Isn't it why like marketers are kind of positioned as like the sleaziest industry to be in? Because the trust factor is so low, because if a client says to you, like, this is exactly what I want, I think it's really, really easy to say yes.
It is easy to say yes if you're not in it to help solve problems. And if you're in the business of supporting clients' success, you should absolutely probably be saying no more than yes to your clients. Because, we have some clients that are savvy. They've come in, they've done their research. They are still wrong on their approach. And then we have the majority which come in and tell us what they think they need. And by the time we get through the conversations and understanding their business objectives, it is the polar opposite. But there are many organizations out there that are just like, they're out for the dollar, churn based. It doesn't matter. Bring it in, ship it out.
Yeah.
And if you want to build true relationships, I think, looking at things holistically is absolutely the right approach.
Yeah, I think to some extent, like we need clients that are willing to listen to that push-pull of, okay, I know you came in asking for something really specific. Like, and in particular, like it happens a lot. I think digital, like it lends itself well to the performance side of things where I want ads. I want you to run ads for me. Just do it. I know exactly what the product is. Here's what I want the ads to do. Like, do it. Google's the place to go because that's where people are searching. We can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can churn and burn our way through clients doing that. But the practicalities of it always have to look like, is the audience out there? How much are we paying? And is it going to net out and like you're actually making sales, or like are we just like generating tons and tons of traffic for you to like no end because it's not an optimized experience? Like, if we don't look at the full picture for clients, like we're often putting ourselves in a position of being like, we can do it, but it's happened before. Like, we do the ads for the client exactly as they say to do them because they're like, I don't want to listen to you. This is exactly what I want. And then eventually they're like, it's not working. Just like the first experiment with, I ran ads for a year and it didn't work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think you come to an agency that's been around for 21 years, who has a lot of senior marketers, and tell them what they have to do. I think if that's the mindset, is like, I'm going to advise you on how to do my lifecycle marketing, how you need to touch base with my clients after a sale, pre-sale, whatever, then you should probably be doing it yourself. But I think the beauty of looking at marketing from the ground up, and that's what, we're good at, is, okay, client, what problem are we trying to solve for you? Most of the time it's like, I want to grow.
Yeah.
Percentage, revenue, financial, whatever. It's like, okay, then tell us about your client. So we talk, we get into who are we trying to attract? Ideal client profile, right? Then building that out almost, how long we've been working together? 9 years almost?
Mm-hmm.
How many clients have come in through this office over those 9 years that have been like, here's my ideal client profile? 0?
Oh my God, we just talked about this. None.
Right.
They never have it.
They never have it. They have some have a sense of who they're
totally okay, but they don't have that.
It's totally okay.
They don't have a brand profile. They might have some values put together.
Yeah.
They don't have a calendar. Like, they don't know the path that their user journey goes on.
Their voice, their values, their, none of that, right? So, which is kind of cool in a way, because you're helping them form that, which is super exciting. But then from there, when you start talking about pre-sale, post-sale, during the experience of the sale, all the things that need to happen, it is overwhelming how much stuff. I think it's exciting and overwhelming. I just had a conversation with a client, which we brought up the calendar again.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, that gigantic thing with all those pieces. I'm like, yeah, but that's what you need. Mm-hmm. You need all of these things to happen in a sequence and at the right time for you to do the thing you said you wanted, which was growth by X%.
Yeah. So
if that's the case, these are the things that have to be put into place. And this is what irks me about single channel marketing and not like life cycle marketing, because single channel, you're very restricted. We know algorithms change. We know platforms change. We know people's habits change.
Yeah.
And if you're married to doing one thing and one thing only, there will come a point in time where it will start to fail. You will not attain the goals you're trying to attain.
Yeah, it's very one-dimensional. And like the way that marketing is so dynamic now, the way that we're trying to keep up with the amount of content that is created now. Mm-hmm. Like we are competing against like a lot of AI content, people just putting things out. The ease of making videos, the ease of writing posts and everything, like we're working against a huge flow of it.
Yeah, and I'm not even concerned about that, because you can do a lot of things really shitty.
Well, yeah, right? I think like we're on the same page of it. It's like you can like the flow of content. I think it's like people feel almost like the weight of how much is out there.
Right.
And they think in order to keep up, you have to have the same pace of it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like as an agency, we don't tend to be the type that's like, the algorithm says you need to have like 10 posts a day to keep up, like 10 blog posts a day, 10 reels a day, plus 10 TikToks, 10 stories, 10 whatever. Like there's certain numbers that people put out there as like numbers that the algorithm, like you keep it happy and keep it fed.
Right.
Oh, I don't subscribe to it.
Me neither. Like, I think quantity over quality all day.
Other way around.
Quality over quantity. Right. All day. Yes. Cut that part out. Yeah.
Cut the cameras. Yeah. Like I think that aspect of it is it's taken me a long time to learn that even during every discovery interview that we have with clients, that they're always going to come in and tell us what they want from us rather than give us the transparency of what brought them to the point at which they're asking for a digital marketing agency. Because to some extent, clients are coming to us because there's some kind of plateau in business. They're trying to reach to the next level. They're trying to do something. And that goal aspect of it, not a lot of people are forthcoming with it in like your first conversation, because they just kind of want to say like, here's what I'm exploring without putting that vulnerable part out there, right? So we're left guessing it.
We are. And then when you start, getting a little more comfortable with us as the marketers who are going to help you succeed, there are conversations that we need to have around your financials and all that kind of good stuff, right? Because we are trying to align you to be successful. Your success is obviously our success, and marketers should feel a great sense of satisfaction when they are able to obtain success for their clients. I mean, that's why I think most of us do what we do and in the industry we're in, because we can change businesses. We can change lives very positively. That does come with an investment, oftentimes in time or financials. But I think the misstep that most people take is they get excited about this thing that they heard was going to help them grow or change their business. And then if you're not looking at it from a very holistic standpoint, like life cycle, full life cycle, start to finish, how you're attracting and converting those clients, you're doing yourself a serious disservice because things are always changing, right? So yeah, I mean, I love the idea of, we're finally at this really sweet spot where we've been experimenting and exploring life cycle indirectly, I think, for a long time. We just didn't know what to phrase it. It was just like this thing. It's like, no, you can't just do the one thing. You got to do multiple things. And then through trial and error and exploration and being a beta testing ourselves for so long, I think now it's very clear that to be successful in marketing, you have to be open to looking at every channel and looking at pre-sale, post-sale, awareness, all of those things in combination. And that's how we're seeing tremendous success with our clientele, right?
Yeah. I think like you say this for ourselves as a business and then pass it on to a lot of clients like that customer experience and like how the clients feel in that relationship is everything, right? And I think Lifecycle essentially opens that door to say that marketing has to be talking to the existing client or keeping that loyalty aspect open, where it's like the conversation that happens after they close on it is like, how did it go? Do you want to come back? Do you want to review us? Do you want to talk some more? Do you have people to refer? And there's endless potential there.
Endless. It's incredible how much you can actually, again, that pot of gold, it's there. And you can tap into it over and over and over if you put the right solutions in place. I do always say you have to have a bit of tolerance and patience, tolerance by, you might make an investment. It might take months for the kind of the momentum to get moving in the right direction. And then you need patience. I mean, oftentimes these initiatives aren't overnight successes. Algorithms don't just pick up your paid ads and make you an overnight success or social or whatever, So I think, if you have those two things, a little bit of tolerance to risk and some patience, and you're willing to listen to the experts who are putting solutions in place, then you will be successful. I think the data doesn't lie to us. The numbers typically don't lie when we do our research.
Yeah. And I think if like cost per acquisition of like net new clients is already X amount, like being able to tap into that existing where you have a contact point, they're already following you. They have proven to be someone that's like on your side, in your corner. It's kind of effortless, isn't it? Like, I think, when you just started making more content, people from your past just started emerging to be like, hey,
let's talk.
You're still doing this.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk again. And I mean, that level of a comfortable conversation, it looks completely different than like a lead form that's filled out and you're like, I don't know who this is, what to do with it, how to approach them and how to close that lead and make a sale, where this other one is like, let's catch up.
Not only that, but this other one is already highlighted that they have some form of loyalty to you, right? So they've already gone through the journey. They know who you are. they're probably the best salesperson you have to kind of advocate. And when you get to that advocation stage or ambassadorship stage of the journey, that is who you want to tap into to kind of scream at the rooftops kind of thing mindset, right? And because if that person is doing that for you, your CPA will go down. Your cost per acquisition will go down because the effort is
everyone's pre-qualified.
Yeah, you got it.
Remember our client that said their close rate on their site is 90%?
90%, yeah.
And I was like,
sure.
Yeah. But like, you know what, when they say it's 90%, they're pre-qualified. They were referred. It was already warm. That wasn't a cold lead.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they were further down the
further down the funnel, which is like, to me, it signals that you're doing great with your relationships, your referrals, the ambassadorship. And it's like, if I were to help you with that marketing aspect of just giving you new leads, they're not going to be 90%.
The same, right.
And then suddenly it's like, comes back to the agency, like, why are you sending us shitty leads? Right.
Yeah.
So we kind of get caught in that like ability to qualify them, especially if we just go like cold, as they say, like turn on the faucet of ads, but it's not realistically like a faucet of like 90% qualified, ready to close leads. It's ones that you got to warm up.
Yeah, I think if that's the avenue that people want to take, probably cold calling is a better approach to that. Like if you want good leads, you got to nurture that relationship. Again, you got to have patience. You're going to make an investment into this thing, but they will end up becoming way better clients of yours.
I think that's why we went Lifecycle direction is like, it is really hard to let go and just be like, here's your lead. And when a client's saying like, they're shitty, we're like, what do you mean? Like,
what does that mean?
And then like, what does your sales cycle look like? Once they write that email or they call you, what does the service look like? And we've talked to endless clients of like, we listened to your calls and like it didn't seem that great of an experience. Like what everything else is that's happening after the lead, like we're kind of can't mind our own business on it. We're like, this is like, this matters.
Yeah. We would like to frustrate ourselves more by listening to your calls and how unenthusiastic they are.
I know. I think maybe that's like our problem. We care a little too much about being in our client's business because there's that much more potential, right? And the issues that they might be having have very little to do with, okay, it's the lead quality. It's maybe like, let's optimize like all the steps along the way where you're contacting them again.
Yeah, that sales qualification and that experience that you're giving. I mean, it's so holistic. It's beyond even some of the stuff that we do. I did have a conversation with a client today, literally this morning, where they are like, "Oh, the leads aren't good," and so I look at it and like, there are plenty of them, and like out of the whatever number it was, I would say 50% of them, I'm like, well, these look all like great leads, like actually great. And these are like the average client value on those was like $4,000 or $5,000 each. So there was tons of money on the line here. And I'm like, why are these not good leads? Why are you stating they're not good? And it was simply because the feels wasn't right. Like the feeling, like they're like, it doesn't seem like it would be a good fit. And I'm like, did you call them? No, we didn't call them. Well, that's a big problem. We had this with another client, remember? Where they're like, what do I do with my leads? Yeah. Well, what do you mean? So I got you this thing. I got them to this point.
Well, I think there's a marketing when it ends. Now I always ask, what does your sales team look like? Or like, how many people do you have on sales? Or like, what does that experience look like? Yeah. Because we need to understand like, what is that follow-up after? Or how long does it take you to deliver the service or the product or whatever after that lead comes to you? Yeah. Because everything that happens after that is still like, it's still open-ended. And we just cannot, we can't let go of it. Yeah. That feeling of, we did all this work to get you to this point. Like, what else could we possibly do? And for us, it's like, it's easy, right? Let's automate some emails. Yeah. If you don't feel like it works for you, you're not a good salesperson. How about we like, space them out and keep in touch with them.
Yeah, we're not talking about inundating people with tons of stuff, but there is something really nice about getting that email you weren't expecting from that organization you'd worked with, just for them to thank you or whatever. And a lot of the big brands do that really well. But anybody can do it if you just have the right plan in place. And oftentimes people aren't, marketing agencies, some will ask the right questions and good questions. Some are just in it for the churn. Like So if you start asking the right questions about what happens post sale, what do your sales teams look like? What support do they need? What's the average close time on your deal? If you're working with B2B, you're not talking about selling something in 10 minutes. Sometimes it's 6 months.
Yeah.
You're nurturing a deal, or a year, right? So it's like, what are you doing throughout that year? Is it nothing? Like, you got the lead, you spoke to them, they're hot and excited.
And then you wait.
And then you wait a year? Or are you just going to be like, hey, sprinkle a little...
Add some value back,
trickle,
right?
Yeah. Like, be top of mind. Oh, here's a new thing that just came out. We just launched this. There's a new feature coming up. If you sign up now, we'll give you this, whatever. There's so many things that can be done if healthy conversations are happening. And we as an agency understand how your business operates, right? So there's where transparency comes in, right? I
think far too many of our clients end up worrying about annoying or bothering people with that. But like, I think we have to always remind our clients that people have opted in. They've had a good experience with you, and our ability to continue to talk to them is like it's not going to feel annoying. It's not going to be something that they're like, I need to opt out, because they'll have the ability to. Like,
if you send me an email every single day and you're a B2B, I'm opting out. Mm-hmm. But if you do it right, and if you're sending me messages on a certain cadence that, the data is telling you when the frequency, what your frequency should be, and open rates. There's so much data at our fingertips that we know what the regularity of conversations or content should be happening. You're going to be just fine. People do read emails. People do get texts. There is push notifications that could happen. So a lot of ways to get in front of people without annoying them.
And with good segmentation, they're not getting like a broad monthly email.
And that's the other thing. It's amazing segmentation, right? So I think there's a lot of pieces that often aren't communicated, or conversations that aren't happening that need to happen. They just need to. It's a mandate from the marketing company to be like, you have to tell us these things. Yeah.
I think that was a great primer on lifecycle marketing, and why, as a business, it's kind of been our next big phase of where we're taking digital marketing. Is there anything else about lifecycle marketing that you want the audience to know?
I think that every organization has to seriously consider marketing from start to finish and beyond finish. Like, after that acquisition has taken place, what are all the things you're doing to nurture that relationship long term? I think that's really the key to all this, is getting the help to get that done, because it is complicated. There's a lot of moving pieces to this, but if done right, it will literally change the direction of your business.
The trajectory of
your business.
If you will.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. This was super fun. See ya. Thanks for watching this video. If you got something out of it, please like, subscribe, or share it with your friends.